Hello and welcome to Profiles in Risk. This is your host Tony Cañas, switching to my radio voice and pitching the third in a triple hitter today. I'm not sure how that happens because usually I aim for one, two at the most, but sometimes it happens. And today I have with me Dr. Billy Williams, PhD, uh, long time in insurance.
Yeah. I'm one of the OGs. I'm one of the OGs, Tony.
You've definitely been in my showing up on my LinkedIn since I can remember, basically. And I think we finally met for the first time April of this year
This
at
year.
Agency Success Conference by Better Agency in Phoenix. But yeah, I had definitely you've been coming up on my LinkedIn forever, uh, and so we got to chat there and. Finally having the podcast. So actually, we should have had you on
I'm honored. Thank you for
before.
having me on. I'm honored.
Thank you for coming on. Before we start recording, you were talking about how you've been in the insurance sales game for a long time, but you've seen kind of a whole new side of it by opening a new agency long after you had opened an agency the last time.
hmm
So how was it different this time? So you're a partner at several agencies, starting a new agency
Right.
with your kids. How was it different this time?
Well, I opened my first agency April 1st, 2004. Okay. I started as a scratch agent. I was an all-state scratch agent. And so starting as a captive, everything's kind of laid out for you. You're given your track, you're given your path, you're given your customer, you're given your pitch, everything. So that was actually a pretty easy runway to run on because again everything was laid out for you. I did that for 4 years. It was very successful, agent of the year, all that kind of stuff. And then in 2000, end of 2007, I went to Allstate and said, okay, I've proven that I have a system that will work. I've proven that I can hire, that I can, all this. I'm ready to acquire or buy other agencies. And they said, no, we're only selling to outside buyers. We're not selling to inside buyers, meaning you already had an agency. Well, I wasn't comfortable with that. So I sold my agency 2008 and opened a scratch agency. Well, when you first open your scratch agency, you don't know anything. You think you know insurance, you think you know all this stuff, and you don't.
And
I didn't
now
know.
independent. This new one.
Yes,
Okay,
openly
you
independent.
didn't
Now I'm
bounce
going
from
independent.
Allstate to
It's
State Farm or Farmers or so
Yeah,
independent.
no. I went from captive to independent. And again, you think you know everything because everything's been laid out for you. They gave you your CRM, they gave you your agency management system, they gave you your guidelines, they gave you your carriers, they told you what your niche was and what the flavor was, and they gave you everything you needed. But then when you're out there on your own, it's a totally different world. You got 7,500 vendors coming at you, telling you why they are the best, why their tool is the best, why you need to use us, why all this other stuff. But the thing I've learned is if you have processes, and this is so important, Tony, you and I talked about this. When you have processes, the tool, believe it or not, is not as important because you're going to find the tool that fits your process. The big problem is most people try to buy a tool thinking it is the process. No, my claims process is my claims process, and I need to get into this. So, what happened was once I started that, I really learned it's really not about the technology, it's about the process that the technology fits in. So I started investing in other agencies, got up to like 160, 170 investments in other agencies, all this other stuff. And then finally, one of my daughters came to me and said, Dad, I want to open our own agency. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm ready. So I knew my processes because I've been doing this for 20 years. So I had the processes. I knew what technology I was going to fit within those processes. I knew all that. I knew how much staffing I needed. I knew all that. But what I didn't realize was that people don't know how to sell. Okay. They don't know how to sell. And so I brought in all this fancy stuff and gave it to basically children who had no clue what to say, no clue how to say it. So I started writing out all these different responses. No, no, no. When someone says it's too expensive, here's what you say. When someone says I'm not interested because of this, here's what you say. When someone tells you I'm already working with somebody, I'm working with my uncle, I've been working with for 20 years, here's what you say. And I kept writing and kept writing, and then we have different positions. So I had appointment setters, they had to have responses. And then I have my CSRs, they had to have responses. And then I had VAs, they had to have responses. Salespeople had to have responses. Closers, retention people. So before long, I had like literally 400 pages of different responses for different questions, scenarios, all these other things. And I was like, you know what? I think this is a book. I really do. And so that's where the best responses to overcome sales objections came from. And the big difference in starting an agency now versus starting an agency 20 years ago is that I understand processes are the foundation that control everything. But if a person can't have a good conversation, those processes will carry you about 70% of the way, but your agency will fail. And I'm noticing that more and more now, Tony, as I'm really looking at it differently. I see agencies that have 75 pieces of technology, right? And they're not writing anything. They got $7,000 a month in technology bills and they're writing 50 policies a month. Why? Because they're missing the foundation, which is if you can't have a good conversation, it doesn't matter. The technology is only going to take you 70% of the way. So, long ass answer to a short question, but I felt like I needed to lay a foundation of where all that came
And by the way, once you had your own independent agency, why invest in others?
from. Because I'm greedy. I like money.
So basically, it's a good way to get exposure to other markets that you're not serving
No,
directly.
no, Tony, you're giving me way too much credit. So what I realized was that most agency leaders didn't really know how to run an agency. And
They're
so
salespeople. Yeah.
we're not taught to have a board of directors. Most big companies have a board or somebody like that. So I would come in and say, look, we've been doing this for so long. We've got almost $1 billion in premium. We know the processes, we know the tools, we know the training, we know the standards, the tasks, the time, the tools. We know all that. Let me be a part of your agency. Let me buy 10, 15, 20% of your agency. I'll become your board. My team will become part of your board. And now, instead of you having a $6 million agency, you'll grow it to a $26 million agency. So even though you gave up 10% or 15% of ownership, what you gave a board member control over those things that you're not good at. And so now I'm able to grow those agencies, right? And so at the end of the quarter, we zero out every quarter, meaning I get my dividend every quarter. And when those agencies sell, which many of them have sold, I have a nut off that sale as well. You know what I'm saying? I get a piece of that that nut that they're being sold.
Mm.
So no, it was pure money. It wasn't I wasn't trying to change the world. I wasn't trying to make the world a better place. And no, I saw an avenue and a niche that was needed and a way to make money doing it and a way to do it in an honorable way. So,
It's an interesting way to do it. I run into a lot of agencies that acquire other agencies, but I don't often hear agents investing in other agencies. So it's an interesting way to do it.
well, 20 years ago, most of the agents that I invested in were 40s, you know, early 40s, late 40s, maybe some early 50s. They knew they had another 10, 15, 20 years in the industry. So why not go? I'm 45 years old. Why not partner with someone who can help me make this a $50 million agency? So when I get 65 and I get ready to sell this thing, now I'm really making my EBITDA and really getting a lot more money. But the problem now that I'm running into, I'm 62 now. I started this 20 years ago. I was 42. All those people that I started investing with and we've come through the years, they're getting into their 60s, late 60s, early 70s. So now they're ready to start getting out. They're not looking at handing it off a lot of times because sometimes they had a succession plan, sometimes they didn't have a succession plan. So I'm seeing the W.R. Berkeleys and the Donnellys and everybody else come in, and they're starting to acquire. I think 9 or 10 of the agencies that I partner with have been bought by some of the bigger folks this year. Okay, so I get my nut off of that sale and I'm moving from there. So I figure in another 10 years, I probably won't have anything other than the agencies that I do own. I don't think that model of investing in agencies will work today the same way it worked 20 years ago.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. So you wrote the book.
Mm-hmm.
Um, is it as simple as I'm gonna buy a copy of the book for each of my salespeople, maybe even each of my service people?
Well, of course, the entrepreneur in me is like, hell yeah, that's what you do. I mean, we've had a company buy like 400, 500 copies or whatever and give each one to one of their sales producers. Absolutely, that's what you do. So the thing about the Pocket Guide, let me grab a copy here real quick. So the thing about the Pocket Guide, I didn't write it to be a literary book. I literally wrote it to be a pocket guide. So if you got a young person who has no clue what to do, what to say, or you don't have your templates, because you should have pre-written templates for phone, email, text, social DM. You should have all those pre-written templates that they can basically copy and paste, right? So let's say you're going over your training with someone and they say, well, I'm hearing a lot of, I'm already working with someone, right? So you would come over to the book and you'd say, okay, person says, I'm already working with someone. I've been working with a current vendor for years. That's on page 20 of our book. So you go to page 20 of our book and you'll see in there, I've got 24, 25 different responses to that one scenario. I've been working with our current vendor for years because most of the time people won't know what to say. So now you're training with your people and you say, well, you could say, I respect loyalty to your current person that you're working with. Let's discuss how we can complement what you already have. Instead of us replacing them, let's see if we can work alongside them to make things better for your company. Okay, that's a response. So then, or you come down to number 7. Well, maintaining good relationships is important. We'll be more than happy to integrate or work with your current vendor to see if we can cross pollinate. I'm using a word that's not in the book to see if we can merge or cross pollinate. Or you come down number 10. You know what? How about we do a side by side comparison? That way, if there is a weakness and you have been working with a vendor, you will know that that vendor has either kind of taken you for granted because you've been there for so long. And if nothing else, you can light a fire under them so that they can come back and look at your stuff. So, and you could, I could keep going because I got 25 different responses. But what I wanted to do was write something where someone could come in and go, this is the scenario, this is the situation. I have no clue what to say because I'm not a true salesperson. I'm really an order taker. As I believe 80% of the people in the insurance industry are order takers, not consultants, not fulfillment, but order takers. Well, now you've got something where your order takers can come in and you can train them and you can work with them and give them a tool that says, we know you suck at sales conversations. Okay. Here are some things that you can say. So you're better equipping your people to have better conversations. And that's what it's all about. It's not a tool. It's not a piece of technology. It's not just do this. We're going to do it for you. It's if you can't learn to talk in insurance, you're not going to do well in insurance.
Are you finding that there's a generational piece to it? The millennials and Gen Zers. I mean, we grew up with this in our hand and less having one-on-one conversations, whether it be on the phone or in person. So we just have
Well, when I was
less
coming up,
experience.
I'm retired Army, and I was commander of Army College recruiting. So I was a recruiter in the Army before I started managing other recruiters in the Army. And I went through sales training after sales training after sales training, right? And the sales training really did talk about a lot of the things that we said. If someone says this, here's, feel, felt, found, all that kind of crap that we went through, right? And I don't think companies do that anymore. I don't think I don't think individuals seek out sales training anymore. Now everything is, I need, this is my opinion. Okay. This is in no way reflection of Tony or his opinions. This is Billy Williams' opinion. Um, I think people are so selfish emotionally that the only thing they're concerned with is how it makes me feel, how I look at it, how I want to talk about it. What do I want to say to you? Not what do I want to hear you say, but what do I want to say to you? So I think I was reading this stat that said the sales of self-help and motivational books is through the roof, like biggest ever it's ever been. But that's all self-help. That's all about me. That's all self-focused. But sales is about you. Sales is about giving you the features, the benefits, explaining the consequences of not having what is best for you, establishing value. I have this formula. Everything for me is a formula. So I have this formula for value. It says value is features plus benefits plus consequences plus price equal value. Okay. So that means for me, that's not about me. That's not about what I want to say to you. It's about what's best for you. Look, this is what, I don't care if it's a bottle of water. The feature of this is it's easy to grab. It's got this twist top on it. The benefit is it hydrates you. It makes sure that, you can see what's going on. It's got an expiration date on, so you won't drink bad water. The consequence is if you don't drink enough water, you could have a lot of medical issues. Everything from high blood pressure, everything from dehydration. It could affect your eyesight. It could affect your throat. It could affect everything. So not having this water, the consequences could be long term. The price of this is $1.99. Do you need it? Are you willing to go with the consequences and save the $1.99? Are you willing to get the benefits and overcome the consequences and spend the $1.99? I can't spend your money for you. What do you want me to do? You see what I'm saying?
Mm.
For me, everything is a formula. So again, the formula for value, features plus benefits plus consequences plus price equal value. And I think we've gotten away from that. We can't really tell you why you should have insurance. We don't explain the consequences. Uninsured motors. Look, if you don't have uninsured and underinsured motors and you get hit by someone who doesn't have a driver, the consequences of that are you may have to cover a lot of your own medical bills. There's only a certain limit there. That means you may have to not only cover your medical, but if you have to go to court, you could run out of money before the legal process has worked its way through. You may have to pay for your own rehab. You may have to pay for any extra expenses because you're out of work, because you don't have uninsured and underinsured motors. Look, I can't spend your money for you, but if you want are the consequences more valuable for you than the $149 that I'm asking you to spend every 6 months? And we don't have that conversation anymore, Tony. I feel like we don't do that, which is why I wrote the Sales Objection Pocket Guide, so that people who maybe did not get that kind of training could at least have a source that they could go to.
How does the Inspire Nation play into it?
Okay, so we have basically three companies in one. It's the Williams Family Investment Group is the parent company. Williams Family Investment Group has Williams Family Insurance and Investments, which is my standalone agency, wfig.info. If anybody wants to go check out our website and see, kind of compare their agency to our agency and what we do, it's wfig.info. The other part of that is Inspire Nation Business Mentoring, which is the mentoring arm of what we do. We've done this very successfully for a long, long time. And I used to say every agent that has ever failed becomes a consultant. Okay. Every failing agent becomes a consultant. Well, we're not a failing agent. We've done this very, very successfully for a long time. And for those agents that want to be mentored by agents that have done it successfully for a long time, that's what Inspire Nation is all about. It's a mentoring and coaching service that we offer, that we share. We share all of our secrets. Like, we don't have any, oh, you buy at this level, you only get this. And then when you bump up to this level, no, we don't do any of that crap. You pay one price, we give you all of our secrets. We lay it all out on the line for you. It's like 1,000+ pages of different things that we've learned over these 20 years. And we break it down into pieces for you so you can easily implement them. Everything from how you assess your agency to technology and automation to staffing to how to do the endorsement, how to do the claims, how to do renewals, all those particular things. So we break all that down for you. And then the third company, so you have Williams Family Investment Group is the main company. Then we have our agency. Then we have Inspire Nation Business Mentoring. So I guess that those are the three. So WFIG is the parent, and you have two companies that sit under WFIG. Okay,
Okay,
that makes sense.
yeah, so the book is really meant as a standalone. It's not a lead generator
No,
for the
no, this is a Billy Williams joint. Yeah, I didn't write this under Inspire Nation or under Williams Family Investment Group. I wrote this because I felt like the world needed something like this, especially with this younger generation coming up that was not trained on sales, that the world needed something like that.
the book came out just recently. How
4 weeks ago.
uh, what kind of reaction have you got into it?
We sold 6,000 copies the first week. Okay. Now, let me put this in perspective for the average person out there who may not understand how book sales works. The average book sells 500 copies over the lifetime of a book. Okay, over the lifetime, 500 copies. There are 2,000 new books released on Amazon every day. On Amazon, all over the world. 2,000 new books every single day. We've been number one in the business category. We were number one for telemarketing. We were number one for sales presentation. So we've been number one for 3 weeks now, which is almost, unless you're Tony Robbins or, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, or somebody, unless you're one of the known people, it's really, really hard to even get in the top 50. And for us to be number one for 3 weeks in a row in different categories tells me that there was a need for this kind of resource. So
It's fantastic. And are you hearing back from the people that are reading it? Or
yes, yeah, I'm getting feedback like, and it's funny. It's not coming from the leaders of the companies because it's not just insurance. It's coming from the users. Like this one lady, she was like, I was literally going to quit working at this insurance agency because I had no clue what to say to people. No clue how to. People were throwing things at me, and I was lost. She goes, but now I just read your book and I write down the things that I say. Okay, I pick 4 or 5 different responses that I kind of have canned responses, and I put it in my email, and that's what I wanted. That's what I wrote the book for things like that. But yeah, we're getting really, really good response. And again, we're still selling at a high rate, even 3 weeks after our release. And more people are finding out about it. It's not like I went out and I've never spent a penny on marketing the book, advertising. Like there are no Amazon ads, there are no Google ads, there are no Facebook ads. I haven't spent an ad on anything. It's been all organic, podcast, me doing posts, people sharing it with their network, with their audience, doing whatever. So, and that's the key for me. If I don't have to spend money, because when I spend money, I tell you how great I am. When I don't have to spend money, other people are telling you how good I am. And that's what I wanted. So no, I've never spent a penny on marketing, advertising, anything like that. And the book is still a bestseller.
Fantastic. The best responses to overcome sales objections, pocket guide.
Yes.
Um, easily available on Amazon.
If they need to find it, just Google Sales Objection Pocket Guide Billy Williams. That's the easiest way. And instead of giving you some fancy link and go here and that, just Sales Objection Pocket Guide Billy Williams.
And, paperback or Kindle.
Yes. And I'm recording the audio part of it, but
fantastic.
I don't think the audio. Yeah, but
It's a weird fit.
The audio part I don't think is going to go well because simply it's a resource. So that would be like me reading off a checklist to you, but I'm going to do it anyway because people are asking for it. But
fantastic. I'll include the link to your LinkedIn and the book on the show notes. Thank you so much for your time today.
No problem. Hey, can I just say one thing before we jump off?
Absolutely.
Okay. Let's talk about what agents. I want to leave agents with something that they can really take home and walk away with and utilize. Number one, your processes. And a process, understand, is instructions on how to do certain things, whether it's a checklist instruction, whether it's a written instruction. Number one, it's all about your processes. Technology, which I know the industry right now is everything's technology. Technology should fit in your process. Technology does not create a process. It shouldn't. A lot of people are trying to buy technology to create a process, but it shouldn't. Technology should fit in your process. As an example, if you have an endorsement process and it's look up by phone number, verify the address, and get permission to text message. Well, your text message tool should be a part of the checklist of that process. The CRM should be a part of the checklist of that process. So that's number one. Get back to your processes. Number two, make sure that you're role playing with your people. Role playing does not mean them hearing you say it and then them shaking their head going, yeah, I get it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I do. No. If you truly want to know if your people understand what you're teaching them, have them teach it to other people. The best way to learn something is to teach it, not to hear it. So if Judy, who swears up and down, she's got it, she's listened to the training, she's watched the video, she does whatever, I got it. Okay, Judy, then tomorrow you're teaching the rest of the group. What? It's a whole different world then. If your people can't teach it, they don't know it. And don't buy that BS of, I can talk to people one-on-one, but I can't talk in front of a group about something that I talk about every single day. What they're really telling you is, I can BS the one-on-one because they don't know what I'm going to say. They don't know what I'm going to do. They don't know what's supposed to come out of my mouth. I can BS that one-on-one, but I can't BS a group that knows what I'm supposed to say. That's what I believe.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with any of that. The process, you've hit on process several times. Process is, without question, radically important, and I think that I've never worked in an agency, but from the outside,
But you have a process for everything you do. You have a process for brushing your teeth. You have a process for combing your hair. You have a process for doing this podcast. You have a process. There's a checklist of things for everything that you do.
Yeah, I think lots of agencies are not great at that. Lots of agencies are opened by good salespeople who have not figured out how to multiply themselves by good process.
So what most good salespeople who open an agency do is they hire assistants. They don't duplicate themselves, like you said. They don't duplicate themselves. They don't replicate themselves. They hire people to make their job easier, not duplicate their job. And that's a big problem. If you want to be a $10 million, $20 million, $50 million agency, you can't have one person and 10 assistants. You got to have 10 people doing what you do. So.
Yep, I agree completely. Again, thank you very much for your time. For the listeners, check out the book. It's 100 pages according to Amazon, so that's a quick read. And again, it's a reference manual. something
Exactly.
you keep on your desk, and yes, as a salesperson, this is the kind of thing that we should all be trained on, and it's yeah, training is just not as good anymore, unfortunately. So thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Awesome. So done recording.
Okay.